start tonight's homework. Tonight's homework is 8-4 worksheet 1. So let's go ahead and go with that. So problems 1 through 4. The directions say simplify completely by reducing or write irreducible if not possible. Now we've learned the word irreducible before whenever we did factoring. Irreducible means we are not able to simplify any further and it's not able to be broke down with a GCF or into two binomials, so it's as reduced as it can possibly go. So it's irreducible from there. So number 2, I need to go through the steps that we did before. So step 1, do I have a GCF in the numerator? I do not. The denominator, do I have a GCF? I do. That's going to be a y, so I'm left with a y plus a 6 in the denominator. Okay, so the next thing that I need to do is go ahead and say, okay, simplify. Do I have a 2 or a multiple of 2 in the denominator? I do not. I do have a y in both of them, so what's left is going to be a 2 over a y plus 6. I cannot go any further, and that is done. Okay, number 8. Number 8, a little bit harder. I have 2 of them attached by multiplication here. No problem. What we're going to do is we're going to marry them together and write it as one fraction. So if I do that, put parentheses around all of those and marry them, just like I did just like that. Okay? So in my numerator, I cannot simplify. It's already factored completely. My denominator, I have 2 of these in there, so I'm going to write it down twice. And then I have a GCF here of a 2, so I'm going to pull out the 2, and then what is left is going to be an x minus a 2. Okay, does everybody see what I did there? There is a common factor of 2 inside 2 and 4, so I pulled that out, and what was left was the x minus 2. So from there, it says to state that any domain restrictions. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do my domain restrictions now. So x plus 2 cannot be 0, and since there's 2 of them there, I don't have to repeat it. I can simply just do that one time. So x cannot be negative 2. 2 cannot be 0. Well, guess what? It never is, so it doesn't matter. And then x minus 2 cannot be 0, so x cannot be positive 2. So these are my 2 domain restrictions that I have. Again, we don't need to use them right now, but we will in the later sections. So from left to right, let's go ahead and cancel anything out I have that's in common. So do I have an x minus 2 anywhere in my problem? Right here is 1, and there is 1. That goes away. The x plus 1 goes away with one of those in the bottom, and there's nothing left up top now. That nothing represents a number of 1, because whenever you cancel out, you're doing division. So whenever nothing is left, there's a 1 there. Then what remains on the bottom is 2 times the x plus the 2, and this is your simplified form. Okay, that's number 8. Next, number 11. Number 11, these are going to be 2 fractions attached by division here. When it's attached by division, do you remember what we talked about previously? Keep, change, flip. We keep the first fraction, so I'm literally going to rewrite this as x squared plus 10x plus 16 divided by x squared minus 6x minus 16. I keep that, I change the division to multiplication, and I flip the second fraction. And then I'm going to marry them all together and write it as one whole thing and marry them. Does that make sense? Okay? So now we're going to follow the steps just like we did before, but we have a little bit bigger of a numerator and a little bit bigger denominator, but that's okay. So let's look at this first parenthesis. That's a trinomial. Is there a GCF in that trinomial? There is not, because this is a 1x squared. So now I need to go ahead and factor this into 2 binomials if at all possible. Factors of x squared are x and x. I need a positive 16 and a positive 10, so my signs are both plus. Factors of 16 that add to give you 10 are going to be 2 and 8. Again, this is attached by multiplication, so I'm going to keep going with this. There's no GCF, and 64 is a perfect square, so that's going to be x plus 8 and x minus 8. That is the difference of squares formula. All over. I'm going to factor this into 2 binomials, splitting that up into x and x. I need a negative 16, so my signs must be opposite. And I need factors of 16 that subtract to give me a negative 6. Well, that means my 8 is negative and my 2 is positive. And then I'm going to simply tack on the x plus 8. Can't do anything with that. So from there, I need to go ahead and find my domain restrictions. My domain restrictions come from each denominator. So x plus 2 cannot be 0, so x cannot be negative 2. X minus 8 cannot be 0, so x cannot be positive 8. And x plus 8 cannot be 0, so x cannot be negative 8. So those are my domain restrictions, okay? So from there, we factored the numerator completely, we factored the denominator completely. So we are now going to cancel things out, going from left to right. Do I have an x plus 2 in the denominator? I do, those go away. An x plus 8, I do, that goes away. Do I have an x plus 8? No, I have an x minus 8, so I leave that. Do I have an x minus 8? I do, so that goes away. What remains in the numerator is x plus 8, and what remains in the denominator is nothing, so that is understood to be a 1. So my answer is simply x plus 8. And you are done. Okay? Now, I do want to talk about one more thing. Actually, we have a worksheet too. So actually, this is all that I'm going to cover for section 8.4 worksheet 1.